Hello everyone, these are psychic predictions for April 2024. So this month coming up here, it's actually March 26th today that I am recording this. But April coming up here, when I tune into it, the first thing that I'm seeing is a dark, gloomy energy. But I want to reassure you that this is not necessarily negative in the end. And I will explain more about that later. But there's also this feeling of this deep silence of acceptance, in the way that people are learning to accept the things that they may not want to see. There's a lot of truth bubbling to the surface, and that's been a theme for the past 6 months or so, but it's especially coming through for April, where people are starting to see the ugly truth for what it really is. And this can also be attributed to the geopolitical chess game going on in the world and people becoming more aware of that situation. And I will explain more about that. But first, I want to get to Bitcoin, the US, and all of the politics and things going on in the world for April coming up here. So, Bitcoin, what I'm seeing is that it goes down in the second half of the month, and this could be pretty brutal actually. Um, the first half of the month doesn't seem necessarily too bad, but it could go down potentially before the second half of the month. But it does seem like the second half of the month in particular is pretty brutal for Bitcoin. The stock market does seem to be doing well regardless. And this seems to continue on until around June before things may start to look worse for the stock market. So, I've gotten in trouble because of the line of work that I do. It's very taboo, and I get attacked from all angles. And so, apparently, I have to use code words. It was someone on my Patreon page recommended that I do code words for certain things. So bear with me through this process. But there's like the U.S. leader, what that would be called. I'm not allowed to talk about people like that because of the thing that people are voting on between the two people. One starts with P, or sorry, one starts with a B, one starts with a T. They're gonna be choosing who the leader is. I'm not allowed to talk about anything like that because I have interference with that. Apparently, I'm interfering with the ELE, etc., etc. I think you know what I'm talking about. And if it's not that, then I get in trouble for creating clickbait. They just come after me for anything. So, code words. The U.S. leader, whoever that may be. So, first of all, I'm going to mention that last month I predicted a situation regarding the Houthis, who are guarding the Red Sea and not allowing the US or Russia or China to go through. And I was saying at that point that there's going to be a big financial setback for the US. And just recently, China and Russia have been allowed to go through that area. The Houthis are now allowing them to, but not the US. So that is a major financial setback for the US, as we have seen. Also, there's been another situation where the leader of the US may kind of start to look bad because an attack that happened in a country that starts with R. So this U.S. leader is not too happy coming up here in March. Nothing major changes, though I don't see any big changes as for why this person would be feeling unhappy, but it's just kind of the circumstances continuing to unfold to get worse. Hence the chess game that people are becoming aware of, things looking much worse than people may have viewed it before. People are becoming aware of the failure to control the Red Sea, and this is feeding into that. I was seeing that there are still some U.S. ships that can go by through that trade route, but not freely. But I was seeing there being that continuing regardless of them attacking the ships. However, I do see in the next coming months that this becomes worse and more difficult for the U.S. to transport goods through that trade route in the Red Sea. So moving on to a person who starts with the letter Z of a major country in conflict that starts with the letter U. This person does not seem to be doing too well for April, and kind of moving forward from here, it's looking pretty grim. Now I want to move on to the opposing country that starts with an R, and the leader of that country seems to be doing much better, attacking the other country successfully. However, next month I do see this country starting to lose a little bit of their stranglehold that they have, and it kind of looking worse for them, that being the country that starts with an R. But in September, it looks like there's a big land grab, like they up the ante, they become much more powerful in September. So that is going to be bad for the country that starts with a U, as well as the U.S. And I'm not talking about the U.S., but the U.S. is included in that too. So, sorry for all that weird terminology there. But if you like this video, you can always give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. And subscribe for monthly psychic predictions every month. So, what's going on for the world? So, when I tuned into the world, I had a vision of someone bungee jumping into a canyon. And it was as if it was totally silent, and it was very meditative. And there's the sense of there being nothing to fear. That bungee jumping is can be kind of scary, I would say. But this person was boldly taking that leap, and there being this silent energy in the air where people can really concentrate and focus on what's going on. I was also seeing the conflicts across the whole world, all these different situations bubbling up to the surface. People are really starting to see the situation for what it is, and that is that there is really no good or bad side necessarily, in the way that people may view the side that they're on as good and the other sides as bad. And it's much more complex than that. And people are really starting to wake up to that in April coming up here. And the whole idea of things being black and white is kind of just going away. And people are having a moment where there's kind of like all these different talking angles in their head, and all the voices are becoming silent because they realize that those voices are kind of irrelevant. So the opinions are falling away, and the truth is coming out, and it's as if people have nothing to say because they're just in awe of the complexity and how their opinion is kind of irrelevant. So, what is April good for? Good. April is good for finances, and I don't say that in the way that it's good like you're going to be abundant with your finances. But what I mean by that is it's good to focus on your finances. It's good to plan ahead. And along with that, also analyzing the future is really a good thing to do in April. And also looking at where you come from, like in the past, how you've gotten to where you are. Because it's really a month about accepting the unpleasant truths, which is also what's good for the month. Accepting unpleasant truths, accepting things like death. That was a thing that was coming up for me. Being able to accept your own death, your own mortality, your own limitations, and come to terms with reality. So the month of April is bad for flying too close to the sun. Now there's that story of someone making wings out of feathers and flying up to the sky. It's like a mythological story, and the sun, I think, melts the wax or whatever it is, and they fall. So the idea with this is that April is a month of really coming to terms with things, and therefore feeling too comfortable could be problematic. I don't mean that like you shouldn't feel comfortable. You should definitely feel comfortable. But don't be too comfortable in the sense of being arrogant or overly optimistic, because that can backfire on you. It's a month of realism. This is a time for observing and planning, and not so much doing or taking action, but more so maybe planning things for the future, but not like just spontaneous action. So next month, I was getting a lot of energy. Like there's a lot of stuff going on, especially like transhumanism showed up as a subject that's going to be more on people's minds. And the next month, I'm not talking about April, I'm talking about May, the month after April. Sorry. Um, Transhumanism and future prospects, like futuristic concepts, are showing up for that month. But for now, leading into April, I'm hearing what's more like the echo of someone's own thoughts, as if to kind of hear your own thoughts in your head and having that awareness of really being able to see things for what they really are, rather than just acting on or reacting to the thoughts in your head. And I was seeing people having this reaction as if their jaw drops wide open and they are in awe of where they really are in life. Because sometimes you can be somewhere in life and not really see the big picture for what's really going on. Sometimes, like you could be in a city like me and notice how crazy it is on public transportation and have a moment where you realize how bad things have gotten, but you didn't really notice it because it happened so gradually until one day you take a step back and you're like, wow, this is crazy. Sometimes I experience that myself, just using that as an example. So this month coming up here, April, is really about being real and learning to accept the truth, the hard truth. So my advice, when I asked for advice, what came to me was the words, "Be what you want to be." And when I asked, what does that mean? I got no excuses anymore. And the sense that you can't wear a mask anymore, meaning you can't put that mask on anymore, so there's no more excuses, and so you might as well just be what you want to be. Now there's a lot of energy shifting, and because of the energy shifting, it's exposing a lot of lies. And the way that this works, the best metaphor I can come up with is that it's as if there's light that's shining in from different angles. As the energy shifts, it's like the light is changing the angle that it's shining in. And because of that, the things that were tucked away in the corners and hidden in the shadows, all of a sudden the light's shining on them. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's more light necessarily, it just means that it's shifting, because we are going up in vibration, which is more of a positive thing. I don't want to get too far into that, but basically we may be less aware of some things and more aware of other things, and overall more things are being exposed. So what is false is dissolving because of this. And it's similar to Chinese medicine, where they talk about stagnant energy being illness and health being energy that's flowing, because it's cleaning things out in the way that the light is shining around to the corners that had previously been stagnant, and lies have been piling up in those corners. So that's pretty much what I have for April, but I do want to mention really quick, of course, I do have a Patreon page that you can join for free. It is a 1 week free membership, and it's pretty easy to cancel. So if you haven't joined yet, I encourage you to check it out and just put it on your calendar the day before to go in there and click cancel so that you don't get charged. And if you want to create multiple accounts and continue to do it, by all means, I don't care. Go for it. But anyways, what I post there is mostly blind readings, meaning I do readings on people, 3 people a month. I've been doing this for years now, so I have a lot of people that have been doing readings. It's kind of become an encyclopedia. It's basically remote viewing, except not quite. But lately I have been assigning a 6-digit number to a person's name and then hiding the name and just seeing randomly pulling the 6-digit number and then just doing a reading on that. So it is blind. I don't know who I'm reading. I also do many predictions for cryptocurrencies, altcoins, and Bitcoin. Ridiculous amounts that you can find there, like an encyclopedia. And of course, I keep up on world news, and I post all the controversial stuff that would be censored, or stuff that may just be controversial, regardless of whether or not it would be censored. And one more thing to mention is I do psychic readings at my website, psychictai.com, psychictai.com. $35, you can get a written reading from me. That is just one question. It's usually 1 to 3 paragraphs, usually more like 3 paragraphs, for $35 per question, and it gets cheaper as you add more questions. Of course, I also offer the one-on-one session, which is 1 full hour long over Skype, and that is $130. But that's why I offer the very cheap and very affordable $35 for a written question. So again, if you've watched this video all the way to the end, give it a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. You don't have to, but it'd be cool if you did. And besides for that, thank you for watching and have a great day.